and pathogenic bacteria. It's called Secret Stuff Hygienic. And then we also started getting into all other sports that use chalk: CrossFit, powerlifting, disc golf, pole vault, track and field, you name it. It's showing up everywhere. We even have professional baseball players, professional tennis players, even pickleball.
Hey, hell yeah. And it's not just that. It seems like, you mentioned chalk is in almost fucking everything, like Chris alluded to, but y'all found a way to transcend not only sports and moved it into a brewing aspect.
Yeah, I think Charles can probably tell that story best.
But, that's still a wild concept. So y'all are kind of
it's wild.
All over the board. But you did mention, like, y'all did make that pivot. And we heard that pivot during COVID happened a lot. And obviously with breweries and this gorgeous fine establishment not being open, everyone kind of had to make a pivot. So, obviously we want to talk about the collab, but I'd love to learn a little bit more, just juggling back and forth between the conversations,
totally.
how y'all are doing in the COVID times, how y'all pivoted. Do y'all have any Olympians on y'all's roster?
We don't yet.
Well, then never mind. We're going back to
Kevin. We might have had some. This is Wynkoop. We put up a good fight, and we're still standing as a group. We kind of had to hunker down and make it happen. Some days were rougher than others, just hustling to-go food. Felt like I was back in high school, slinging food, taking phone orders, and doing that thing. But, our growler machine helped us sell beer, filling growlers and crowlers. At some point...
I thought he misspoke when he said growlers the first time, but in fact to crowlers.
That's right, 32-ounce cans, and we have them still for sale. There was even the crazy part of the pandemic when we were able to sell, like, to-go pints. Do you remember this?
The good days?
With, like, a sticker that says, I won't drink this on my drive home.
Yeah, right,
like,
as I peel that off.
Just so wild,
As someone who used to work and live in New Orleans, that was, like, the best part of the pandemic. Besides not having to, like, smile at other people when you walk, you could just do your own thing. That was the second best part, was you could leave a restaurant with a cocktail.
That's right.
I do miss that, but especially because sometimes you just want to take those delicious crowlers and growlers on the go.
That's right.
But sometimes you just want to drink one on the walk down the street.
But when Kevin was talking about the chalk being like hand sanitizer, I was thinking that would have been so cool if you walked into a place and there was like just a bowl of chalk, and instead of the hand sanitizer,
you feel like LeBron pregame.
Well, that stuff's like a paste.
Yeah, it's like a liquid chalk.
It's like a liquid.
Yeah, so it's like a cream. It's like a cream that you put on.
You should have told us that beforehand. Now we look stupid.
Well, when I was climbing up at Garden of the Gods, I used the secret stuff because it was like, well, it says it actually will kill COVID, and I'm out here climbing with a few other people I don't know, and it made sense.
So is that how y'all meet? Just like belaying down a rock, be like, "Oh, hidey ho, neighbor." How did y'all meet?
We crossed paths at the climbing gym more than a
couple times. Yeah. I remember seeing you. I think you were probably climbing in the Masters comp for Heart and Soul years ago.
That was all word. They did those were not sentences.
We were the Heart and Soul comp. Is a pretty cool competition at Denver Bouldering Club.
Okay, do we not have time to say competition? Like, we can take our time here.
We're climbers, we don't have to break. Call it comp.
Yeah, like, hurry up, comp down, comp up. I didn't know if we were in a hurry, time press.
But yeah, we definitely crossed paths, and I knew a couple people, just from hanging out at the gym, that were Friction Lab shirts, and struck up conversation. Climbing is a pretty rad community of people who like to hang out. But we got introduced by a friend, a mutual friend, Joanne, who she really is the star of this. If like I'm the beer guy and he's the climbing chalk guy, she's right in the middle. She's been a yeast rep and worked in the beer world for like 20-something years, but she's also helped set up climbing comps for collegiate and youth forever. Okay. Her son is an epic ice climber, Cody. He's like top in the world. He's excellent.
That's such a cool hobby. Like, I rank number 2 in the world in ice climbing. That's a flex. There's no chick safe at a bar. You can just have my girlfriend's like, yeah, I'm leaving you, Cody. He like, climbs glaciers. Shout out to Cody. Well done.
Yeah, Cody's killing it. And I wish Joanne could be here today, but she introduced us. So I got to know her from buying yeast from her. And then my buddy Jay that worked here, he and I used to climb at Denver Bouldering Club. And she wanted to get together, do some climbs, and she'd been trying to put together a brewers climbing league for a long time because there's a lot of brewers that like to climb. And so she set up the Colorado Brewers Climbing League. And basically it was a way to get to different gyms that you might not climb at for kind of deals on the day pass to get into the gym. And then we'd all kind of hang out at a local brewery afterward and hang out. And she had a little competition kind of with it. You could sign off on difficulties of problems, and she would kind of grade and evaluate. And then every week release like who took first that week, and then it all culminated with like Jay and I taking first in the climbing.
Kevin.
So, as a reward, I guess like we got a trophy, and she bought a round up at Upslope Brewing Company up in Boulder, and she said, "I'll donate some yeast, whatever you guys want to do." Well, Jay and I had been joking. And this is where the beer meets the chalk.
I like how you phrased it.
We use chalk in beer, just like pharmaceutical companies use chalk in their pills. Chalk is in a lot of things. You might not quite think it makes sense for it to be there. It can be used as like a binding agent. It can be used for flavor characteristics or enhancements. Pretty much any seltzer water or soda water or mineral water. When they say mineral, they're talking about things like chalk or carbonates or sulfates. And Friction Labs uses magnesium carbonate. Well, in the brew house we have, and it's not pharmaceutical grade, it's just regular food grade.
Do you get it from Tanks Direct? Oh, wait.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Wrong
I
one.
should ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, we use calcium carbonate, and along with a few other minerals, and this is a pretty common thing for brewers to do. I could get real sciencey on this, like real fast.
Nerd out on us. Don't be shy.
Basically, the best thing about Denver for the beer scene is that we have such low minerality in the water. You might have tasted your tap water and gone, "Damn, this water's epic," compared to maybe Mississippi or where I'm from, Florida, right? The water's pretty crappy down there.
I think it's a boil notice still in Mississippi.
Yeah, perpetual.
Both showering and drinking.
So we have this great, we call it a blank slate, right? So we don't have to take minerals out for it to be this nice, great, pure water. It just shows up like that in our taps down here. What we can do is add minerals, and what we'll do that for is to kind of replicate regional, international styles of beer that come from different mineral bases of their or different water tables, right? So like in Britain, their water is a different mineral content of carbonates and sulfates and all these things, and we'll add in chemicals to our brewing water to kind of replicate that. And that water's our biggest ingredient, right? It's our main ingredient in beer. It makes or breaks the final product. It helps with the mashing program. It helps with during a boil. It helps gain flavors from the malt and the hops. It'll help with yeast metabolism, and in the final crisp, finish of the beer, you'll taste that minerality. It plays a part from the beginning to the end. So we use chemicals like that. Jay and I thought it'd be we thought it was a funny joke. Well, if we ever run out of climbing chalk at the gym, we'll just take some of the stuff we got at the brewery. We've got like 50-pound bags of this stuff just hanging around. We can take a few ounces and use it at the gym. It was like a real dumb, like, ha, brewer joke. Well,
Classic
Joanne,
brewer joke.
Yeah, classic, dude.
Did you find $20 at the end of that story?
I wish. Well, Joanne actually was like, yo, that's a great idea. You guys should totally meet my friend Kevin. He's got this chalk company. You might have heard of him. We're like, actually, we use Friction Labs at the gym, And then upon introducing through email, he let me know that, no, it was better than food grade. It's pharmaceutical. We actually test this. And that was when we started doing this collab. It was like, cool, well, what do we use chalk for? We use it in some of our British stuff. So we made some British golden ales. The first 2 rounds of this were kind of like lighter British blonde type ales. Really basic, easy crisp finish, low alcohol, like great after a climbing sesh, like 4.5%, so you could have a few.
Yeah, I know that feeling. That's exactly what I want after I climb.
Right. Well, this third one, we're like, well, we want to do something different. They came to me and they're like, we want to hype this one up. We want to go big. We want to talk about it more. We want to let people know we're doing it, and we want to be able to raise money for our foundation, which I'll let Kev talk about. But I'm like thinking, well, what's like the most hype beer style there is? Hazy IPA. Let's talk about it.
I mean, as someone who comes from cannabis, without a clever, cheeky name, what is an hazy IPA?
You're done, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
You're just dead to rights. You're stuck in a pool of mediocrity.
We were trying to think of names, and I swear Kevin just goes, Embele Hazy IPA, and we're like, thank you.
I mean,
that's it.
As someone who loves a good alliteration and rhyme, well done, Kevin.
Well,
not only
thank
the
you.
brawn, but also the brain.
Thank
Don't
you.
listen
Right.
to the nerd.
That's right, yeah.
It's our third beer. I think it's the best named one. The
It
first
is.
one was Limey Unicorn.
Yes.
Because the chalk we use it's called Unicorn Dust. We have Unicorn
was
Dust,
British.
Really Grip, and Bam Bam. So we used Unicorn Dust in that one. And then the
Y'all
second
grind
one.
down the horn for that?
But it
Yeah,
didn't
pretty
taste
much.
like,
But it's
colorful.
it's
It had no
it's a
lime
pet
character.
friendly process.
so people were upset.
Vegan?
Yeah.
I apologize. We were talking about murdering innocent
Yeah.
animals.
Unicorns.
Yeah, just chopping the heads off and grinding down the stumps.
Yeah, the Limey Unicorn was, Limey is a British person, but the fatal flaw was that there was no lime flavor.
The connotation there from an American would
Mm.
be that it's going to come like a Modelo with like a wedge.
Correct.
And it didn't hit like that. But this one hits.
The next one was Friendly Friction, and people were like, well, you guys hate each other? Like, what's the deal? Like, is this a reluctant collaboration? We're like, no, we're friendly. It's
Friendly
friction, come on. So, yeah, I think we got this one.
Good thing y'all let Kevin do the third one. Because those first two.
Yeah.
We'll let those slide.
That's what happens when you give the brewers control of the name.
But, y'all, it's a great idea. They gave you the control of the beer, and the Embele, it seems to taste pretty delicious for the beer drinkers out there. They love it. But it's, like you mentioned, it's all for a good cause as well. And so, Kevin, I'd love it if you tell us a little bit about, proceeds, kind of what they go to so that we know we're not supporting, the Taliban and things like that when we drink the delicious
Sure.
beer.
Yeah, no support for the Taliban.
Nice.
So like most
American podcast.
like most small businesses, the first couple of years of being in business is you're not so much in business as you're in like the business of survival. So we kind of just did everything we could to keep the business moving forward. And then last spring, when everything kind of went down in the world and you had to kind of rethink about what the purpose of your business is and what you're trying to do, we realized that we work with hundreds of gyms across the U.S. and frankly around the world. And we thought maybe there's something that we could do well with them. So we came up with this idea of like we should cause good. And the way that we're trying to cause good is we're trying to bring underserved youth populations into our climbing gyms. And not just for like a one-time event where they can just like try climbing out or CrossFit or Ninja or any of the other sports that we work with. But so that they can get in, they can get exposed to it, and we're working with the gyms to make sure that the kids can come back again and again and again. And our first event down in Florida, we had 40 kids there, and I think we're at like a little over 30 of the kids have been back at least 4 times.
Soap.
And hopefully it kind of drives them down a lifelong passion for the sport. And
You're growing the game.
yeah, trying to.
These could be the kids that go to the Olympics in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So,
all.
so are these some kids who just like climb indoors? Like, are there climbers who
They're
are
climbing
just
a
like,
lot of like just sand dunes. And
yeah, yeah.
Most of these
Dog,
kids,
palm
most of these kids
trees.
haven't had a chance to go climbing or try CrossFit
Right.
or anything like that. So yeah, we're just trying to bring them into the gym to get them exposed, and if they like it, there's lots more opportunities afterwards.
That's awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about not only. I mean, I love the calls. The call's good. That's a much better name than
Right.
Limey Blokes or whatever your backup was going to be. But what is the scene like? As two, obviously, you can see we are probably the most physical specimens here at this table today. What does y'all's crowd look like? Obviously, it's fairly popular in Colorado. You see it off every single interstate and road. You see people parking and hoofing in. What's the scene like across the country? Is it a big one? Are we growing at a nice clip? Are y'all like lacrosse, or what are we looking like in terms of scale?
I think